job ain't finished. Your job ain't finished. Make sure you come ready to go this next week.
How about those?
Are you ready for the best Kansas City Chiefs insight? Welcome to the Four Guys in a Bar podcast, presented by Chiefs Blitz and sponsored by Eric Haynes with the Eric Haynes Group. If you're looking for a real estate expert, call Eric Haynes today at 816-729-3785. That's 816-729-3785. Now, here is your Chiefs Blitz host, Nick Athan, with Lou Montagna, Andre Tillman, and Hense Todd.
Welcome back to the next edition of Four Guys in a Bar, presented by ChiefsBlitz.com, your number one source for all of your Chiefs news. And it is Black Monday in the NFL. A lot of coaches are getting fired. A lot of projected, some coaches and some GM candidates are going to be interviewed. We'll get to all that later in the show. Joining me is my partner extraordinaire, Mr. Hense Todd with Bowtie Sports. You can check out his show every Saturday night now with Coach Dre. It's roughly 7 o'clock Central Time, something like that.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock Central Time. All right.
Yeah, I think we had 800. It was 1,800 some people in there.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Prayer. Shout out to he's subscribed to the show. Shout out to Sparkle Sports Card. I think that's what it was called. But shout out, he said he got a kangaroo. He probably named it Bowtie or Chiefs.
Well, we don't know. You never know. All right, we got a great show lined up. A lot of Chiefs news today. We're not going to talk very much about the 38-0 loss yesterday to the Broncos versus the Chiefs third stringers and second stringers. So it's not important. It doesn't affect anything. But what does affect things is our sponsors. So first up, let's talk about my good friend, Mr. Eric Haynes with the Eric Haynes Real Estate Group. If you're looking for someone who can help you buy or sell a house in the greater Kansas City metropolitan area, there's nobody better than my good friend, Mr. Eric Haynes. So if you're looking for that experience to where he's going to be there for you, answer every call, answer every text, and make sure he gets the deal you want, you can reach him two ways. 816-729-3785 is his personal cell, or you can email him at esaleskc@gmail.com.
Proud sponsor of Chief. Ooh.
That's right. Another proud sponsor is my amazing wife, Emily Athan. If you are looking for someone who could put together a custom health insurance quote for you, she is the person to go to, whether it's a marketplace option if you're eligible or a private option that gives you access to a nationwide PPO. She's the one who can sort everything out for a free consult or a custom quote. You can reach her today direct at 913-215-9086.
Emily.
She gets her own song. What can I say? All right, let's bring in our newest sponsor, Resell Electronics.
Big on the hottest products. At Resell Electronics, we offer the best deals on new and pre-owned TVs, game consoles, cameras, plus so much more. With 2 convenient locations along Noland Road in Independence. Stop by and visit us today.
That's right. Resell Electronics for all of your personal consumer electronic needs. Whether you're looking to buy something or sell some old stuff, they are your one-stop shop when it comes to the things that you might want in an electronic fashion. So with that, you got 2 great locations. 1214 South Noland Road in Independence. And also they got another location on Noland Road down on 40 Highway. And that is inside the flea market. So walk in, tell them that Chiefs Blitz and Bowtie Sports sent you. You get 10% off your first order. You can check out all their deals on their website at resellwithac.electronics.com.
Resell
Electronics, sir.
Love it. All right, we're going to bring in the other members of the crew.
T-Pain feeling a little frisky today.
Yes.
Let's go.
All right, Mr. Lou Montagna, the other senior member of the staff here.
Let's go.
What's up? And Coach Andre Tillman, what hat are you wearing today, buddy? I can't see it.
KC Mavericks, man.
KC Mavericks. All right, I know you guys are doing some stuff with the Mavericks.
Representing the Mavericks.
Yes, representing the Mavericks. A local franchise there in Kansas City, owned by the Lamar Hunt Jr. and his partners. So definitely check out their season is underway in 2024. So guys, welcome. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope you're doing something else besides watching the Chiefs and the Broncos. I think after the first drive, we can all say,
I think we
at
bear
7-0, the Bengals are not going to the playoffs.
To the show, to our listeners, to our viewers, to have watched all 60 minutes.
Embarrassing. I did not watch all 60 minutes.
My local affiliate here, which it was on the CBS affiliate, cut away at a certain point in the second half. So I had to like scroll down to, the NFL ticket subscription so I could just watch the rest of the carnage.
Now tell them which game they flipped on.
Raiders and the Chargers, because
it wasn't a close game.
Really
at that point.
Wasn't close, but it was the closest game. I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot happening in the 4 o'clock window. I guess they could have switched to Jets, and
I think the Jets were on Fox,
Miami, but that might have been on Fox. So
yeah, they couldn't switch.
Yeah, whatever.
Why even play the damn game? Y'all, they gonna do some shit like that. Why even play?
Well, they didn't play. They didn't play the game. They basically just got out of there with no injuries.
It's no effort.
They just snapped the ball, man. They just snapped the ball, and
Wentz looked like straight doo doo. I said, all right.
You try to play behind that offensive line. Give me a break,
man. Okay, it's no disrespect to the guys that played.
Yeah,
I'll get into this in the 6-pack a bit, and there's gonna be a pretty significant question that I'm gonna ask. And I would I know it's really difficult for some of the team members here to go completely impartial and just think of the league, not this team, but there'll be some fireworks.
All right, let's do it.
I almost guarantee fireworks when I ask that question.
Nice. Yeah, it's all good. Hey, I want to welcome Justin Hutchins. Justin, I'm not sure you've been on the show before, but he certainly had an opinion that the Chiefs didn't make much of an effort in the second half. We'll get into all that. Nicholas Blocker, I think, is also new. Humphrey looked okay.
Guys.
Curious how they handle left tackle.
Welcome in.
We'll get to that topic as well, because I certainly have an opinion on that.
Also, you guys that's coming in. Also, you guys coming in and let us know where you're from and where you're watching from as well.
Yeah, definitely do. Let us know what part of the country you are. And my good buddy Vito.
Part of the world, man.
What's up, Vito?
Bow tie's gone worldwide now, down under.
Yes. I think we hit a couple continents already. Now we already hit a couple continents right now. All right, we need the main focus.
And major props to Mango for doing all the hard work today. Oh my goodness,
Mango's got to start dropping flyers around London.
We need Asia, Africa. We need some more. We need Greenland. Come on.
Springfield, Missouri.
Justin, I'm not. You're not that far from me. I'm down in Joplin, so we're close.
Joplin.
Nice.
With that said, let's get right into a little breaking
product.
We got some breaking news.
Here we go.
All right, breaking news. The New York Jets have requested an interview with Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy for their head coaching. This is, of course, to Diana Rossini over at ESPN. He is also...
No, Nick. She's with The Athletic, no longer at ESPN.
Oh, fine. She's with The Athletic. My bad. The Jets might be getting a 1-2 punch from Kansas City. They've also requested an interview with Assistant General Manager Mike Borgonzi. It's a foregone conclusion, and he's going to be one of the GM hires this cycle. He is highly regarded. Been with the Chiefs for 15 years. I would assume if Borgonzi comes in, he'll give love to Matt Nagy. We're going to talk a lot more about this, but Matt Nagy is also reportedly going to be set to interview with the New Orleans Saints.
They love their Chiefs down there.
And I've also been told that Steve Spagnuolo also is on the New Orleans Saints radar. So it's quite possible that
maybe I may be being Captain Obvious here, but because these coordinators with the Lions and Chiefs don't play this week, they're able to do Zoom calls this week.
The teams, teams. On Wednesday. They can begin on Wednesday. I think they have till Saturday. Now, obviously, the two teams with the bye, the Lions and the Chiefs, their window is extended a little further. But, I think there's a good possibility that Matt Nagy is going to get another chance. I think people are looking at what he actually has done for the Chiefs, even though that's some debate within the Chiefs kingdom and certainly from the Blitzers. But, this is something that's not happened. There's not been a lot of hires from the Chiefs staff in this Super Bowl run, which is kind of surprising. And I know Peter Schrager over at Good Morning Football talked about this last year why aren't teams calling upon, some of these Chiefs coaches? And now that's starting to change. I think people realize that, I think a lot of people understand and believe.
I think it's age, Nick. I mean, Nagy, obviously, Doug Peterson,
right?
Of course, both those guys were offensive coordinators. And that was always the contention. And I see, Eric Bieniemy's name in the comments, and we were talking about it before the show. That's not happening,
right?
I don't know that it's ever going to happen for him. I mean,
no.
Now
23 interviews.
Now this UCLA piece doesn't work out. I mean, where the guy fits, I don't know. Maybe. Whatever, that's him. But what I'm saying is that the Chiefs offensive coordinator always seems to have a little bit of a hill to climb, because the conventional wisdom is that, hey, it's Coach Reid's offense. He's probably they may be game planning and making suggestions, but at the end of the day, Big Red calls the plays. So,
and then on top of that. Yeah.
Yet on top of all of that, Matt gets a job, gets his team to the playoffs a couple of years. Doug goes and wins a Super Bowl. Now, it hasn't gone very well for him in Jacksonville. Obviously, he's one of the guys that got the axe today. But Nagy took Mitch Trubisky. They went to the playoffs twice.
So here's the thing with Nagy. He's 34-31 as a head coach, right? In the postseason, he's 0-2, right? In the postseason as a head coach. Now that's okay. That's okay. And nobody's thrilled to get Nagy anyway. You know what I'm saying? But like you said, Lou, he come from Andy Reid. When anything Andy Reid produces, people want him, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But honestly, with Nagy going to the Jets, if that does happen, him going to the Jets, I don't think I believe that he's gonna have the same outcome as when he went to the Bears.
Yeah, he'll get him in the playoffs. He'll get him in the playoffs. He's got experience. He's learned a lot. He's been with Andy for 3 years.
Now, rest assured, if you see the list, they've also they've also inquired on 20 people, put in slips for like 20 people.
Yeah, they even interviewed Rex Ryan.
They've already had they've talked to Rex. They're going to talk to Rex. They talked to Mike Vrabel. They talked to Ron Rivera. So they're casting a pretty wide net.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that Matt doesn't have a shot here, but if he does, then you've got some more people that that Coach Reid can filter through. Maybe there's somebody on staff, and more than likely they'll go outside of the staff to bring in a new OC.
If y'all was the organization, would y'all take Nagy? If y'all was the Jets, right? Would y'all hire Nagy?
I mean, if I'm in, I would like to be in the room and talk to everybody and see what's up. I mean, I can't just say sight unseen. I think he would do an amazing job. I think he would do a good job there. I don't know if he's a jerk. You almost need, I think in New York, you need a guy that, like a Mike Vrabel, somebody like that's almost cut from the. I mean, they love Parcells, they love Belichick, they love guys like that maybe not necessarily from the defensive side of the ball, but somebody that, I mean, Dan Campbell would be perfect there, because what you're going to get. They're no nonsense. They're going to set the tone in the building, because that's what it seems like it needs. They seem to have gone, the play caller route a few times. They've gone to defensive coordinators, the guys that haven't coached before. So I think, unless Vrabel goes to New England, which, that seems to be a foregone conclusion at this point, just the way that all went down. It's going to be somebody that, again, the buzzword culture, somebody that can come in and set the tone in the building top down.
So I have a question. If Matt Nagy does leave, can you see them bringing it back to the guy from from the New York Giants that was here before? He didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, Kafka certainly would be at the top of the list. I mean, Doug Peterson, if he was thinking that he would come back and be an OC, or I'm sure he'll probably hang around and maybe wait for the next coaching cycle, or hell, maybe somebody hires him in this coaching cycle. You just never know. But I thought Kafka, I mean, played for Coach Reid in Philadelphia, smart kid, obviously went to Northwestern, was with Patrick's ear for an entire season or three. So yeah, I would certainly welcome him back if they go outside of the organization, which, I mean, he was already here once. So
I think for Peterson, If Nagy gets the head coaching job with the Jets, I think he would bring in Peterson to be the offensive coordinator. They've been together since their days in Philadelphia.
That's a good
obviously.
pickup, Nick.
Absolutely, in Kansas City, he would be terrific. He would stabilize things. The problem that he had with Jacksonville is Trevor Lawrence was just not. He wasn't sustainable. He wasn't consistent. They spent all that money in the offseason. I mean, them and the Texans spent more money than anybody, and it just didn't work out for a variety of reasons. And, I don't necessarily know all that's Doug's fault, and working for, the owner for Khan is not easy either.
Teams that get thrown together like that
you can't have success.
Seem to struggle. Now you do have to bring in some, bits and pieces in free agency and some role players and obviously you're not going to build completely through the draft, but the majority of your team should be, and usually the best ones are homegrown.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's why the Chiefs are successful. So for Nagy, I think he'll get a couple of options to choose from. Hopefully he gets, strong consideration. If you look at the last couple of years of coaching cycles, they brought in all these young guys and all these guys who were favorites of the players. And in most cases, it's not worked out. And the veteran coaches who have signed have done a much better job at kind of restoring the order. I mean, look what's happened with the Commanders, and Dan Quinn. I mean, he has just come in and said, okay, I'm just going to be a rock force. I'm going to hire a really good offensive coordinator. I'm just going to manage the ship. And, the Commanders are in the playoffs for the first time.
If I'm Matt Nagy, man, if I got to go get that Jets job, do you want to deal with Aaron Rodgers?
He's gone. He's not coming back.
Do you want to do with that? Do you want to do with all the drama?
We've seen the last of Aaron Rodgers in the NFL.
If that's the case, if they keep Aaron Rodgers around, that's on the job.
He won't take the job.
Shout out to Aaron Rodgers for doing their job, man, against the Dolphins, man.
Nobody will take that job with Aaron Rodgers.
I won't take that job.
Well, I think it depends on who the GM is, right? I mean, more than likely, new GM, they're probably going to want a clean slate and not go back there because, again, he's an older guy. You know what you're getting from him. There's a particular offense that he wants to play in, and it just, you keep adding more and more of these pieces that he's worked with before. And yeah, this somewhat successful, but not many wins out of it. I mean, they've rolled up some numbers this year with Devontae, when he came back, and it wasn't like huge numbers, but anyway, I mean, it just goes to show you that, whenever you get these mercenaries, it's difficult to make it a team.
Right. That's the problem.
And before we get off this question and go into the six pack, somebody have a question. Go ahead and read that one, Nick.
Okay. So Brian Grails, another new person. We appreciate that. I'd like to see Pete Carroll or Robert Saleh in Chicago. Now, I think Robert Saleh got a raw deal with the Jets. They didn't give him a lot of help. They forced him to take Aaron Rodgers when the two clearly weren't ever in sync.
Yeah, him in Chicago. I like that.
Listen, I think the Bears are going to do everything they can to convince Mike Vrabel not to go to the New England Patriots. And I think that
several teams are going to try.
Yeah, I think the Bears, because of Kevin Warren, the president, former commissioner of the Big Ten, who has hopes of someday being an NFL commissioner, is going to go after Vrabel, I think, with every gun he's got, with everything he's got, money. They've got cap room. They've got a young quarterback who needs to be slapped around a little bit and get him to be a better teammate and to be more focused. But he didn't get a lot of help with the coaching staff this year. It was a complete disaster in Chicago. Ryan Poles, the GM, former assistant GM with Kansas City, or head of player personnel, has not done a good job at acquiring talent. It just hasn't worked out. But when you have bad coaching, it's difficult. So I think that, like I said, if Pete Carroll would be an interesting choice. Now, if I'm Pete Carroll, the team I'd go to is the Raiders. I think he would bring some stability there. He can hire someone to groom who can take his place in a few years. But Robert Saleh, I mean, he's not getting any wind of consideration so far. Nobody's requested anything. There's been no interviews set up. I think he would be, again, maybe you get a really good defensive coordinator job for him. I think that's probably what his lot's going to be this year and maybe the year after.
I think that's where he's going with this. Is that I think Robert worked for Pete in the past in Seattle, and that's he's saying as a tandem, because I don't think
I'm sorry, Brian.
I don't know.
My bad.
I don't know that Robert Saleh gets a head coaching job in this.
Yeah, that would be a good place for him.
I would love to be Mike Vrabel's agent right now.
Oh God,
because the Raiders. I mean, obviously Brady and him are very tight. That's gonna be a consideration there. I don't know if he has any ties in New Orleans, but I'm sure they're going to want to talk to him. Certainly Chicago does. The Jets have already. New England is right there. So he's going to get a very large check, a large contract.
Yep.
And I think if he's going to go, I think wherever he feels like he's in line with the GM.
Yep.
Right. So because I think that's where it kind of went haywire in Tennessee.
Right.
Because he's certainly going to set a culture.
Yeah.
He's certainly going to motivate.
Right.
And if he brings in the right OC, depending on which young quarterback they're grooming and where he's at, obviously Drake May in New England. I don't know if the Raiders draft one. We'll see about that.
We'll see. They've kind of it's going to be tough for anybody to draft a really good quarterback.
What they said that was the breaking news that Jets are half required to interview Matt Nagy. For their head coach.
It's a long list right now. Yeah. So good luck to Matt.
Probably about 20 people. Good luck to him. Yep, absolutely.
Good luck to Matt, and let's get right into the 6-pack. What do you brought to guys to drink?
Here we go, gang. Let's take a look at our graphic. Of course, we got peaceful beers, plenty of drinks.
Pizza.
Until we get that sponsor locked down, I don't think we see any toppings on this pizza. So I've resigned myself to that.
Shout out to Walmart, Best Choice Pizza.
I guess it's been 18 weeks or whatever. I guess I got to be okay with it. But anyway, here's 6 things that may have been interesting just to me, but we're going to go through it anyway. All right. We've just been talking about hirings, firings. For those of you that are keeping score at home, Jerod Mayo wins his last game, but gets fired that night. Of course, we talked about Vrabel, that he's looming. So it was almost like that one was coming. But have you guys ever been on Facebook and people mark themselves safe from like some natural disaster or whatever? That's a thing on Facebook.
Right.
So the Colts did that with Steichen and Ballard. The Dolphins did that with McDaniel and Greer. The Giants have done that with Daboll and Shane. And these were like probably 3 guys that might have been a little shaky. I don't know about McDaniel, but it certainly didn't end well, with them this season. So, but Peterson, of course, we talked about it, is out. But somehow Trent Baalke is like a cat who's got 9 lives. This is his 3rd coaching hire of his stint in Jacksonville. He almost blew up the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, I think, quit so he didn't have to work with this guy anymore.
Right.
And every single comment that came up in social media when it said Peterson was out was some vitriol or some like what I'm saying about what's going on with Trent Baalke. My former partner, again, just hates the guy. And then some coordinators are out too, Anarumo in Cincinnati and some others. But we haven't seen any other head coaches go by the wayside. But I think we kind of beat that horse to death, unless you guys have any comments on any of the firings or guys that are still kind of waiting for the axe to fall.
Lou Anarumo is it's beyond my comprehension. It's just why they made him the scapegoat with having basically 1 good pass rusher, 1 good cornerback, and 1 linebacker on defense. It's just stupid. The Bengals are the worst organization in football. Period. It's not even close.
You let go all your defensive pieces, your studs on there, and what do you have to play with?
You can't blame that guy. You can't blame him.
Because me and Bo talked about that earlier before the show. When you let your pieces go that helps your defense, that fits your defense, yes, it's gonna look like that. Yes, it's going to look like that. I don't understand.
Trey Hendrickson still had an amazing year.
Oh, he's a sack leader.
He gets least talked about when we talk about pass rushers, defensive player of the year. And I don't know, because he's a kind of a quiet guy, just kind of goes about his business. Right. But from his days in New Orleans to going to Cincinnati, he is so consistent. double-digit sacks year after year after
That's
year.
awesome.
He wants paid, and he deserves it. So we'll see what
more
happens
money.
in Cincinnati.
That seems. We'll talk about them in one of our topics here. But go ahead.
Well, he deserves it. So okay, so the draft order has been very fluid over these last weeks because there's so many like 2-win teams, three-win teams, 4-win teams. So by process of default elimination, if you would, Tennessee is on the clock. So Tennessee's sitting there. It looks like Callahan's coming back as the coach. It's just his first year.
Right.
So I would imagine they're in the market for a quarterback. I don't think they're really sold on Will Levis. And I don't think Mason Rudolph certainly isn't a starter in this league or full-time starter. He can certainly get you through.
And who has the top pick in round 3? The Kansas City
It would
Chiefs.
be your own Kansas City Chiefs, Nick. Yes, absolutely.
But Luke, look at 16 and 17. It's somebody co-host teams are right there in the top, picks.
Look at that.
My
Yeah,
God,
they finally won. They're in the top 20 or something.
hey, listen. Both my teams are going to excel. They're going to excel. But what's very interesting about this, though, about the first round,
one thing as far as our people, listeners, watchers, whatever, we'll start getting into some of the players and so forth that are most likely here. We get about midway through January, Senior Bowl week. We'll probably start.
We'll start ramping
looking
up
at different players and so forth. But in terms of teams that are looking for quarterbacks, you can certainly say the top 3 for sure.
Absolutely.
That are going to be in the market.
Absolutely.
Number 6 is going to be in the market. Number 7 is going to be in the market. Number 9 probably in the market. We don't know what's going on with Purdy in San Francisco. More than likely, they won't draft a quarterback in the top 11.
No.
Dak's probably cemented there.
So
for better or worse,
like
the Dolphins are married to Tua. The Colts,
first 9 is QB heavy.
The Colts are probably feeling they still don't know what they have in Anthony Richardson, what they have, whatever.
Could you see the Cardinals jumping up to number 1 and get Sanders?
Bruce, shut up.
Sanders is not going to be the top pick. He's not even going to be the number 1 pick.
Paramore Harrison.
Maybe 10, 12, 15.
Send Kyler Murray to Tennessee.
I don't
first 9 or QB
just on today's day, January 6th. I don't see anybody giving up a load for any of the quarterbacks in this particular draft. And that's not saying anything bad against those guys, but there's no like clear cut. This guy is an NFL player.
Yeah. Bad quarterback draft,
Ward,
bad
great college player, a lot of experience. We saw what that did for Jaden Daniels. We saw what it's done for Bo Nix. So maybe just on those comps, he gets some attention. Shador's had plenty of college snaps between the two schools. So
he's another Geno Smith.
But you got several teams that are quarterback hunters. So these guys are going to get pushed up for better or worse. They're getting pushed up. Carson Beck, he's coming off an injury. We'll see what happens with him. But anyway, there you have it. And it's not fluid any longer. That's locked in, barring any trades. Okay, so what you'll notice that one of our hosts today is wearing a number 10 Chiefs jersey, but you can't see it until now. That does not say Pacheco. That says Hill. I don't know if you guys have heard of Tyreek Hill. He's been gone a while, but he plays for the Dolphins, and he's kind of a wallflower. Doesn't really speak up much or whatever, but I guess finally he decided enough was enough. So Tyreek pops off again after the game. They shove a microphone in his mouth. It was a long season. He wasn't very pleased with his usage or targets and everything else. The team was we really don't know what the hell happened with Tua. They're kind of hush-hush. There's a hip injury. Was he going to play? Wasn't he going to play? So he didn't play last week. And he looked really engaged on the sideline. This week, he's wearing shades. It seemed like, whatever. But Tyreek, Kenny St. Clair's got it right there. He's opening the door. I'm out, bro. I'm not out here just to be a guy. After the game, McDaniel, I was informed he was unavailable as to why he wasn't going back in the game. Now, I don't know how true this is. He does have the wrist injury, but he played.
He does need he's going to need surgery on his wrist. Yes.
So again, it's been posited out there that
Everybody
perhaps
getting
once he saw the Kansas City Denver score, that he kind of checked out and said, "Nah, I'm not going back in." So I don't know. I just thought it was funny. I thought it was Tyreek being Tyreek.
I don't need him. Chiefs don't need him.
Sure, you know.
And I got a segment, locked up for that. So
I'm sure you do. We'll just look at your shirt there, Hense. We know where this is going. He saved Tyreek's jersey in case they need one for him.
But, brand new too. Never been worn.
So we'll see once his agents get a hold of him and they kind of walk this back or figure it out. He just signed an extension this year.
Yeah.
He's
56 million dead money cap hit.
He's on the wrong side of 30. I don't know that anybody's going to be able to trade for that contract, and then everything else you get with the Tyreek experience. So that's Tyreek. That's Hense wearing his jersey, and I'm sure he'll have much to say about that.
Much. Yeah, I will.
So
I know I am.
The antithesis of Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans. 11 years,
Beast.
now 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons this year, even though he missed 3 games. I get it. It's 14-game season. He's still able to do it. Here's a guy that had an opportunity to leave Tampa, rumored to Kansas City being one of the teams that was highly interested in him before they moved to Hollywood Brown. And because of his family, because of his ties in that community, it was just too much for them to pick up and move. And what the organization did for him yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw this, but was just incredible, because they're up 27-19. They get the ball back with like 30 seconds left. You're going to kneel down. You just clinched your playoff position, whatever they're playing against the New Orleans Saints, that would love nothing better than to knock them out. And here they are. They come out and they don't line up in victory. They go 3 wide. Baker drops back to pass. This game's over. We're in the playoffs. What are we doing? But Mike Evans needs like 5 yards to get like $3 million or something.
That's love, man.
Baker throws the pass out to him. God forbid that gets picked off and run back for a touchdown. And somehow they got it, and they went nuts. It was like they had won the Super Bowl. And
gotta love Baker Mayfield. Gotta love his character, man.
I don't know where we stand on this, but we've had different opinions about Todd Bowles, but he gets it. This guy is that franchise for this team in terms of Mike Evans. And it was one of the coolest things to see. But you could just imagine just like a Herm Edwards moment in the Meadowlands, just the ball gets popped up, guy picks it off, runs it back, and the rest is history.
Yeah, this might be the best thing Todd Bowles has done as the coach of the Bucs in his career. It might be the best thing it's ever done.
I agree, man.
You show respect to a player like that. Who knows how ownership felt. That's $3 million you got to give a guy, who was 5 yards short of an incentive.
Now I want to.
Obviously, they wanted.
Somebody would have come down.
They didn't get the check on Barkley. They didn't give it to Barkley. They said the hell with Barkley. To help Joe.
No, Barkley made the decision.
I want to agree with Nick just said. Nick said that's the best thing that he ever did in his coaching thing. But he did show how to beat the Chiefs on defense. I'm just saying.
He did. No, I'm sorry. Okay, maybe the second best thing.
That was a great game plan in that Super Bowl.
Mike Evans is the best receiver in the game.
Well, prisoner of the moment. Now, what are you talking about?
I'm just saying.
Jamal Charles,
you love the one you're with, don't you? You love the one you're with.
Hey, I'm off topic. What I'm saying, guys, in the comment section, is Mike Evans? Who can cover Mike Evans? That's what I'm saying. Who can cover Mike Evans?
Coaches' allegiances are fluid. I mean, and that's the best way to put it. It just
if you're
depends
great,
on the
coach
day,
gonna show you some love. If you're great, if you're great, I'm gonna give you some love. If you're great.
Well, again, it's really kind of an unwritten record, but not really. Jerry Rice did it 11 years in a row as well. But no, Mike Evans, top-notch guy, top-notch player, and just a game changer. He's up for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award as well. So shout out to Mike. $3 million richer, not like he needed it, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Respect,
all right. So we talked a little bit about yesterday. Okay, maybe I'll save this one for number 6. So let's go. We're going to shift here a little bit. Hence number 5, the Detroit one, if you have it. So somehow, some way, with all these injuries, they put the D back in Detroit.
They did.
Aaron Glenn. I mean, they got Alex Anzalone back, which was one of their pillars on defense. They can do so many more things with him when he's in there. He can cover. He can rush. He's good against the run. I mean, he just kind of helps that whole thing go. And he was outstanding last night, amongst others. Amik Robertson, the guy that seemed like he was covering Justin Jefferson solo the whole night, but he really wasn't.
Back in Detroit.
But four possessions in the red zone, and they came up with 3 points.
Yeah, impressive.
Okay, they only allowed 9 the whole night. The first half, 113 yards, 6 points. Their defense, 7 first downs. Sam Darnold, who has looked like a kind of an MVP candidate coming into this game, just had one of his certainly his worst game of this season.
That was a Jets performance. Yeah,
he was off. He was high with some of these stories. You can tell. I mean, he was a little too jacked up for this game, I think.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, maybe he comes up with a couple of those. I don't know, but it was just a great performance. And the bottom line is Jahmyr Gibbs. To me, that's Jamal Charles on a really good team.
Hey, that's my guy, man.
Stop calling people out, because they never come to the Chiefs, man.
He's a cheat
I was banging the drum for him.
He's a cheat code. His senior year at Alabama was just electric. Now overshadowed a little bit by Devontae Smith, but whatever. He was something else there. And I just loved him there. This is the type, when I was telling you guys, we're talking about running backs and Carson Steele's name came up. This is the type of guy that would be just balls out in Andy Reid's.
It's going to be their top focus in the offseason is finding
somebody that is that maybe not as good as him, but somebody that's that electric, a little bit more speed. But Jamal Charles, same type of dude. Okay, here we go. Last one. The NFL Shield, we put that up there just because the league always talks about competitive balance, being above reproach, especially with being in bed with all these gambling websites and really promoting gambling on the games, not to the players, of course, but to the fans. And yesterday, what we saw out of the Denver Kansas City game was
horrendous.
Again, take the Chiefs hat off, take everything off, and say that was the varsity scrimmaging the JVs, or maybe not even a JV team.
I would say the freshman team.
Not as individual players, because I'm sure they were all trying very hard. But you take a group of guys that probably haven't had many snaps together, and it's just it's kind of a weird thing for the league, because in most circles, I mean, if you had an idea that that's the way it was going to go, 10.5 point, whatever that line was, and I took the Chiefs. I took the points with the Chiefs, and that doesn't have anything to do with this, but it's just kind of a black eye for the league, because these other teams are out there competing, and they go out of their way to make sure that the teams that are in contention against one another are playing at the same time. So you don't know what you need to do. Those games are happening at the same time. And to watch that game, or if you were a fan of the Dolphins or the Bengals, or really just a football fan watching that, you're like, what are we doing? What are we even watching here? Did they ever make it to the red zone?
No.
The closest they got was the field goal that Bucker missed. And even it just seemed like it was like we got an NFL team against a team that were just a pickup team.
I know you didn't watch most of the game yesterday, because you said it got cut off. But I
watched the whole thing. I swear, because I was on the local, and then I just flipped over to NFL Ticket to watch the rest.
Me being a videographer and photographer, what I noticed was they wasn't cutting to Andy Reid as much They was not showing the sideline as much. They showed a little Patrick Mahomes here, a little Travis there. It wasn't like you can show Andy Reid calling plays or just like a regular game. Because that's why I told you guys, a couple shows ago. Yes, I feel like the Chiefs and Andy Reid gonna say, hey, Sean Payton, I'm gonna get you in. They're not gonna let the Bengals in.
I know it's coronation for the Broncos.
I know Lou said no. I'm against that. We got to take out this. We got to take out the team and that. But that's what it looked like to me. It looked like I'm gonna.
It wasn't no fight, bro. It wasn't no fight,
other
man.
teams did that, right? I mean, the Rams didn't play.
Other teams did. Rams did it too,
and they competed. They were in it till the end. I mean, now granted, I don't know what Jimmy G hasn't played all year, and I can't remember the last time he did play. But somehow that game was close, and some other teams have rested players. So and my question was this: do you think at some point that the NFL would do? I think the NBA, like I think I've mentioned this before, back in the 80s when Pat Riley wanted to sit like Magic, Kareem, Worthy, like it was the last game of the year. They had nothing to play for. And the league just like stepped in and said, no, these guys have to play like a certain number of minutes. Do you think the NFL ever does something like that? Because that just looked really, really bad.
Here's why the last week was virtually, irrelevant outside of the Sunday night game nobody. The NFL had that ridiculous 3-game, 11-day stretch,
right,
where they took their prime games, and they knew that whoever won on Christmas Day in their respective divisions had a huge advantage over everybody else, but they want the Chiefs in the prime time spots because they make more money in Chiefs telecasts than they do any other NFL team. It's just a fact. They get more viewers. And I think what the Chiefs decided to do on Sunday was, because they went to DeAndre Hopkins and said, hey, do you want your record? No, I want a ring. There were some other guys who had some incentive opportunities that weren't disclosed. Had an opportunity.
Well, within the rules, Nick, they were perfectly fine doing what they did.
I'm justifying it.
My question is more from the league's standpoint.
From the league's perspective, they're the ones who come up with the schedules.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who put this all together. They do the matchups. They don't tell you what the week
one cake, and they want to eat it too.
They don't know. They don't even release the last week's schedule until after the Sunday night game the week before. And that's not necessarily fair because you still had two teams playing on Monday night, correct? Before the schedule was announced. And I think what the problem with the NFL is, you're right, they can't have their cake and eat it too, but they do. And so for all the teams that are bitching and moaning about the fact that this game cost a couple of teams.
Before we get into that, we're gonna get into our topics.
All right, let's just get into the topics because that's going to
go right into it.
I don't cut off a great segment, man.
Hold on, no, this is going to go into the topic. I know
Nick. Nick was going.
I was going to jump.
We could just pull. You can just pull the question when it comes up, but sure.
Just put the question up. Put the question up because I want to say this.
Hard left, emergency brake.
Keep the momentum going.
Screeching halt, throwing hard.
Let's go right into it. Go ahead.
Free segment.
What do you guys think for the Broncos loss? Go ahead, Drake.
Go ahead, Nick. Nah, Nick gonna finish. Just go ahead, Nick.
No. I'm going to talk about the next topic.
We learned from the Broncos. That's bullshit. BS. Like it's just BS, man. I feel like the Chiefs didn't give no effort, man. They let Bo Nick just look phenomenal out there, man. Everything he threw up was money. I was like, they ain't playing for real. Carson Wentz had 98 yards, man. Still had damn near 50 yards, barely scratching 50. I'm like, damn, what kind of game was this, man? It wasn't even competitive.
And that was my point to the whole thing before, is just from a competitive standpoint. But as far as what we did learn was that you can't expect guys that have been, for the most part, sitting all year to go in and have a cohesive effort.
Yeah.
Now you can try hard and you can whatever, but I would imagine they kept things very vanilla in terms of the play calling, just so that they could play fast because they haven't run all these plays. Maybe a few plays in walkthroughs during the season in between games, that now all of a sudden the bullets are flying. You've got a team that's playing with desperation. They're playing hard. They played, like a week ago, and they took a tough loss in overtime. So again, from the Broncos' perspective, they did what they had to do, right? That's so true. They build up a little momentum going into their game in Buffalo. As far as the Chiefs are concerned, I don't know that you can really grade anybody. You can grade them on their effort, and then whatever was called, were they running it properly? Did you see anybody quit?
Tyreek Hill.
But other than that, I don't know that you can say Carson Wentz had a horrible game. He did, but I think some of it was protection issues, right? A lot of those guys haven't played together as a unit. It's just kind of the 5 best, if you would. So so I hopefully over the next few weeks the starters don't get stale, because they by the time the next game rolls around, it'll be like 3 weeks between games for them. But I think they'll be ready to go then. But just yesterday's was just, hey, let's get through it.
My thing, Chiefs did what they had to do. From really looking at it, not from a fan, from my Bengals, whatnot, from a fan, they did what they had to do. Put some guys out there, manage the game, go out there and then just give a little effort, just get the game out the way. I get it. It
was just a hard watch, and the NFL. I mean, just from whatever the address is on Park Avenue, them having to watch that, they got to be thinking. Even though what Nick said is true, that they kind of put them in a bind with the schedule that they had them go through. Yeah. But to say that, okay, this is our product today, you got to be like, we can't do this.
And they beat the Chiefs down on their schedule, because they was in every damn near primetime game, man.
Everything else, but this is
damn it, Carson Wentz, you look like straight doo doo. So I'm just saying,
not a good look for the league.
Not a good look for Mr. Wentz, to tell you that.
But I didn't hear anything you guys said. I hope it was good.
What I learned from it is, it was guys, the Chiefs got to look for what they can see, who's going to be trying to, come back for, but what they're going to have to bring in from the draft or free agency, like DJ Humphries and other guys, the other backups, who they're going to need to bring in, what guys can make the team for next year. So it's a little preseason game for me. Yeah, that's what I learned from it. And also I learned from it is Nico could be a viable option as the sixth receiver that's coming in, and Jaden Hicks looked pretty good playing as well too. But other than that, a beatdown is a beatdown. No matter, it doesn't matter if you pick up the stick.
Here's the thing. If I'm a Broncos fan, I don't like. One, you threw a lot of your playbook out at the Chiefs backups. You showed a lot of things you're going to show in the postseason.
Did they?
Oh, of course they did. They had trick plays.
What was the trick play? Where was their trick play?
I don't know.
Everything. I mean, to me, everything they ran was pretty basic stuff.
I think it was a little bit more sophisticated. The defensive blitzing.
Because that's just what Sean Payton does. I don't think they did anything outside of themselves.
Okay, we can differ.
It was a pretty similar game plan than what they ran against Cincinnati.
They were just having fun out there. Ace playing back.
Yeah, I mean, they took advantage of the situation. They put a beat down on the Chiefs, and that's fine. Again, the Chiefs, no screen passes. They didn't do any. They didn't pull their offensive linemen on runs. They didn't do a lot of motion with the receivers. It was just get out of there with no injuries. Chamari Connor was the only casualty. He's got a sore shoulder. Shouldn't be anything serious. They're going to get a couple of cornerbacks back, and Steven Nelson. They're also going to have Jalen Watson, who probably will be available for the division round game, from what I'm hearing. So again, get out of there. The game has no significance whatsoever.
Yeah,
and just forget it. And if the league is pissed, or the league wants to make changes on how the last week of the season goes, then don't assume when you make the schedule that week 18 game is going to be relevant. And there were only 2 relevant games yesterday. That's it.
Well, I think that's what they try to do by having everybody play division games.
Well, they shouldn't have put the New York Jets on TV so often and think they're the team.
What about the why the Bengals and the Dolphins fans need to sit down and stop?
Something tells me this is a statement and not a question.
It's my it is. Okay, listen. I'm gonna tell you this. Now, credit
just take out the why and the question.
Right. Okay? I'm gonna say this. I get what everybody's saying about the Bengals in the league because they started off slow and like it's the Bengals' fault. But you got the hottest team going into the playoffs. You want them to
won one game. They've won one game in 3 years in the first 4 games of each season.
But Nick, you know damn well if the Bengals go to these playoffs, they're gonna wreak havoc.
No, hey, coach.
They just fired the defensive coordinator.
Coach, come on, man. One of my fantasy teams didn't make the playoffs. Okay.
Right.
In the last 3 weeks in the fantasy playoffs, my team had the highest score each of the last 3 weeks.
Right.
So if I would have got in, I would have won the championship. But guess what? I didn't win enough games to get in the tournament. So that's it. It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. But from that standpoint, I can't get mad though. I can, but I can't because we see how hot this team was. I would love the league would love to see the Bengals go in. They would love to see that. Then the Miami Dolphins, right? But I can't get mad at the Chiefs for what the Chiefs did because it's not their fault that the Bengals need to get in. We're not y'all ticket, and I understand that completely. But at the same time, man, I would love to see that. The Dolphins' credit ain't worth a damn. Nobody wants to see the Dolphins play because my man was ready to leave and go to the Chiefs.
They lost to the Jets anyway.
Let me tell you why the Bengals are not in the playoffs. They lost to the Patriots
first game,
week 1. Then they lost to the Commanders. All right. Then they lost to the Ravens.
Dropped a dime to McLaurin in the corner of the end zone.
And then they lost to the Eagles.
Close.
Okay. And then they lost to the Ravens again.
Close.
But it doesn't matter.
It's defense, Nick. The defense cost them the game. It doesn't
matter, dude.
That's not
the question. If they win opening week against a crappy quarterback,
why they lost is not in question.
Blame the referee because my tight end had the touchdown, Nick. We should have beat New England. That's all I'm saying.
I would say this, man.
All I'm saying.
I would say this. Why the Dolphins?
What you gotta say? You want to provoke the damn question.
Can the Bengals and the Dolphins need to stop crying, right?
Yes.
The Dolphins fans have all, they had the best offense out there,
Tua's the next great quarterback.
Why are we even talking about this?
The Bengals had all this, but they got to enjoy the vacation in Cancun.
There we go.
Can we all
why this irritated me so much?
Vacation.
Why this irritated me so much?
Why is that?
Is Robert Griffin III, who I have a massive amount of respect for as a football player and an analyst, comes out and starts dissing.
Joe bulks up there.
Starts dissing the Chiefs for their no-show. And I'm like, okay, well, there were a whole bunch of other teams over the last couple of weeks that were no-show. Yeah. There were teams that played the entire season as a no-show. So why are you upset? The Dolphins and the Bengals missed the playoff by one game because they couldn't win one more. That's it. Right. It wasn't because the Broncos were going to beat the Chiefs. That was going to happen.
It doesn't
matter. I even think if Patrick Mahomes is playing, the Broncos still find a way to win this football game because it meant more to them. Right. So at the end of the day, play better at the start of the season. Don't lose to bad teams. You lost to a team in week 1 that just fired their coach after 1 year. His signature win was against your team.
Yeah.
Just stop.
And referees
team wasn't good enough.
That game against your team
not
too, Nick.
Good enough in a watered down AFC.
That wasn't pass
interference. This is the 3 teams from the AFC West are in the postseason. That hasn't happened in forever.
Never.
Right.
And they were good. They weren't great. They won close. They won some games they probably shouldn't have, and they played well down the stretch.
Absolutely.
The Bengals, to their credit, no question. Best overall team offensively in the last 6 weeks of the season. I give it to them. It doesn't matter if the defense was bad. The problem is the Bengals fans are so irate because the Chiefs put in their backups to do what they only care about, win friggin' Super Bowls.
Yeah.
The Bengals are 0-3 or 0-2 in the Super Bowl. They've been to the AFC Championship. They beat the Chiefs once. Good for them. They didn't win in the Super Bowl. They have a team they can't afford to keep. It's just, and in Miami, they're talking about some wholesale changes down there. So listen,
Yeah, I think if the Bengals or if the Dolphins fans are crying, I don't know that they're crying about not making the playoffs. I think they're just crying about just the state of their team.
And that's fine. That part's okay. But for them to, there were some that said some stuff that was just so derogatory toward the Chiefs. I know, isn't that great? I love that.
Put them in.
Yeah, put them in the petition.
Now, honestly, that's a little that's a little much though. I mean, they didn't earn it, and me being a competitor, we didn't get the job done. I ain't about to go this damn far and put that shit on there, man. I ain't about to go that far. But honestly, they are about how this team going in, and a lot of people wanted to see it. I'm just saying they wanted to see it.
So I'm not alone here. Here's John Harrison's take. The media hype up Cincy. The fact is that Zack Taylor is an overrated coach. He's 54-1. And that includes one good year, 12-4 in 2021. If the Chiefs don't collapse in the second half of the AFC Championship game, they have no credibility. He might have been fired by now. He certainly probably wouldn't have gotten an extension. But that one win, one signature win, and the fact that the Chiefs, Burrow beat Mahomes twice, in Cincinnati to start his career, that has a lot to do with it. But the problem is, it's all sustainability. The reason that the Bengals will not likely win a Super Bowl, and the same with the Dolphins, is you have to spend the money from top to bottom.
Exactly.
You have to look at the Chiefs. Andy Reid, highest paid coach in the league. Brett Veach, highest paid GM. Matt Nagy is middle of the pack. Steve Spagnuolo is the highest paid defensive coordinator. Chris Jones is one of the highest paid defenders. Patrick Mahomes, the highest paid quarterback. Travis Kelce, Creed Humphrey, soon to be McDuffie. And you just spend the money. And if you don't spend the money from top to bottom in your organization, you can't build consistency. It's a different way of doing things. And the Bengals hope in prayer and the Dolphins hope in prayer. It just doesn't work. Tyreek Hill wants out because he knows the organization is trash.
Yeah, but to their credit, I mean, if you want to look at it that way, they spent a ton of money. Now you have to question.
On the opposite side, they spent money.
You got to question where they put that money.
Correct.
A somewhat fragile quarterback that more than likely was never going to get that on the open market.
Their choice.
Exactly. That's
they
what
could have had Tom Brady.
So
they were going to get Tom Brady.
So somehow this GM again has saved his job, and then they gave a ton of money to a lot of different guys that aren't there anymore. I mean, it's Jalen Ramsey.
It's a new way. It's a new way.
Guys they don't pay. They don't pay Van Ginkel, who they could have got fairly inexpensively, and he turns out to be one of the best players.
Yeah, I mean, why are the Chiefs and the Lions 15-2 or whatever their record is? Why? You know why? Because they show up every week. They take everybody's best, and on 2 occasions, each of them lost. Yeah. And so
it's not college football. You don't get voted in. You got to stack wins.
You just got to win key games.
The regular season is a grind. It's the worst part for these teams. It's the worst part for the players and the coaches. The grind is to win your division, get into the lottery, get the best seed, and go pay
your referees too. Pay your referees. I feel like all your referees have really been getting paid. They've been calling some bad calls this year. I think the refs, their money. You pay them their money, and they make the right calls. That's it.
If you listen to certain fan bases, they think that Clark Hunt does pay.
Yeah, I'll take Carl Cheevers. I'll take Carl Cheevers every day of the week because the Chiefs are like 10-2 with him.
Yeah, they've been talking to the refs. I've been told.
Speaking of the AFC West,
all right, let's do it.
The Chiefs face the Chargers or the Broncos next.
I'll take
the question is, go ahead. Is Denver going to beat Buffalo? That's what this boils down to.
Or will the Chargers beat the Texans? Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Man. Well, I would think, but if the Broncos win that game, then it's then that's the deal. The Chargers have a much better chance of going on the road and winning in Houston than Broncos do in Buffalo. But you got to give them a puncher's chance because you've got a great coach on that side. Their defensive coordinator has kind of figured out, who his guys are, how to play best.
You're talking about Denver, right?
Leaning into that pass rush. I mean,
Zach
Allen, Nick Bonito, Browning coming off the edge, Surtain in the backfield. So it's
it's amazing how poorly they looked for the last, the 2 losses in a row. and obviously Chiefs didn't offer much, but then they have so much incredible talent. And Vance Joseph, I mean, props. You go back to Denver, a place they booted your ass out. Now, I know Gunther Cunningham, God rest his soul, one of my favorite people ever to be in the NFL that I knew, came back to the Chiefs. When Dick Vermeil said to Carl Peterson, I know you fired him, but I need him. And he came back willingly.
Company guy.
And a company guy. And that's what Vance Joseph is. And I hope Vance Joseph gets another opportunity to be a head coach because he absolutely deserves it, in my opinion.
I like him. I like him as a DC, but go ahead, Nick.
Well, but still, I think with both these teams, I mean, I think everybody assumes. I mean, the Chargers are already favorites against the Texans. Who knows? I mean, the Texans showed a little life yesterday, so we'll see how it pans out. But I think the Broncos is not a good matchup, for the Ravens. I just don't.
Well,
I'm sorry, Buffalo. I don't think they're a good matchup for them. I think because of that defense, and we don't know which Buffalo team is going to show up. Are they going to be the one that is more balanced and not have to carry all the load with Josh Allen? Will their defense step up? Broncos have a good young quarterback.
If there's any time of year that that kid's going to put on his cape, this is it. So
this is it. Don't bet against a rookie quarterback who doesn't know.
No. I'm talking about Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest difference in this game is going to be Josh Allen. If he's able to escape the pocket with that great pass rush, he's just going to crush them with his legs. And it's
y'all think the weather plays a role in that too?
And it's just so disheartening to the defense when you do everything right.
Yeah, he's a defense killer. There's no question. He's the
unicorn makes a big play, and you're like, what else do we do? Right?
Yeah. On the other side of the ball, Bo Nick's been throwing that ball though. He has been throwing the ball. And
he's got a lot of confidence. What happened yesterday gave him confidence. He didn't he beat the Chiefs' aura, regardless of who was on the field. Yeah. He's got a notch on his belt now. And even Pat Mahomes.
He had a pretty good game against Cincinnati.
He did have a really good game. That fourth quarter that he had was terrific.
Game against
Cincinnati. Again, if the Broncos run the overtime correctly, this whole Bengals-Dolphins conversation's over with. And week 17 doesn't matter.
I'll put it like this. I got the Chiefs and the Chargers facing off in the AFC. You know what I mean? But how I see it getting done, Denver gonna go with Buffalo. They're gonna give a good fight, but they're gonna get beat by Buffalo.
Probably.
And I feel like I know everybody's saying the Steelers ain't playing well, but I feel like that's a good matchup for Baltimore, and I feel like the Steelers probably take out Baltimore. And that's just my feeling. And I feel like the Chargers are gonna take out Houston, and okay, so that leaves. You know what I mean? The Chargers probably got to go to Buffalo.
This the Cube talking or this you talking? This the Cube or you talking?
Chiefs get the Steelers. Chiefs beat the Steelers, and then
it's hard to distinguish between the Cube.
That's what I'm trying to figure out because the Cube, I don't know if the Cube talking right now.
That was my take. That was my take on the situation. Now,
watch all the top seeds. Probably the top seeds in both conferences.
Somebody threw out a tweet. Every single time that Houston has made the playoffs, they play the first game on Saturday.
Always. This is true.
Every single time.
Chiefs, Browns, and now the Chargers.
There's like 10 of them, Nick. I mean, every single time they've made going back to when they came in the league. I mean, I
think Broncos defense is tough though. They tough.
Yeah, we'll see with that. But I think the Chiefs will face one of these two teams in the postseason. I believe that.
Well, I guess and a lot of so that will be my AFC match, Chiefs and the Chargers. Right. But also, speaking of a guy, we talked about earlier on the six pack. Tyreek Hill will be traded to blank this offseason. Lou.
I think he remains with the Dolphins. I think Drew Rosenhaus gets him under control. They figure out what the hell they're going to do at quarterback or whatever. It's just hard for me to envision a team laying out any value to get him, to pay him. And then on top of that, the draft compensation that you have to give up to get him. I mean, unless Miami just says, you know what, we just want him out of the building, and they give him up for like a 5th round pick, a 4th or 5th round pick. Then I would say somebody that would be crazy enough to do that. So I'll tell you, these teams that have open positions, you don't know who the GM is going to be. So who's going to trade for him? I just don't think it's going to happen.
I'll tell you who's going to do it. I'll tell you who might do it.
Yeah.
The Detroit Lions.
Wow. Okay.
I think they would. I
So
think
the hell with Jameson
Williams, right?
Give us Tyreek.
Give us Williams and Tyreek.
We have gone out of our way to build this culture. This is what has gotten us to where we are.
If they don't get to the Super Bowl this year,
we are going to blow it up to bring in Tyreek Hill.
Hey, that's blank choice. That's Nick's blank choice.
It's my blank choice. If they don't make the Super Bowl this year, then yes, I would say I would not. That wouldn't look at all this crazy stuff they've done, and it just seemed to have worked out for them. You know, whoever their GM is, deserves a lot of credit.
Brad Holmes,
and deserves a lot of money for what he's done. And they have a terrific head coach who's a little crazy, and he does things that you scratch your head and wonder, well, why is he doing that? That's just who he is, and they play that way, and the whole team reflects that way. And I think if you're looking for a wild card team, I think them. I do not. Listen. Drew Rosenhaus is one of the premier agents, and there's no way Tyreek Hill says what he says yesterday unless he talked to Drew. Said, okay, here's what you can say. It was all scripted. Everybody knew that the question was coming. He's made hints for the last 4 or 5 weeks that he's unhappy there. Listen, I do know this. He will not be a Chief next year. Or the year after, or the year after that.
What you had to say, Coach? Right?
Listen, honestly, I don't give a damn.
You're gonna say Bengals, aren't you?
Hell no. My Bengals are the Cardinals. You're not coming over here with us. You a diva. He speaks his mind. He doesn't think before he say shit. No, I don't want him.
Yep.
I don't want him because
all right, Hense. Where's he going to be, Hense?
He's going to kill your organization.
Let's do him a favor and send him to New England.
Well, one place he will be, and the Chiefs have the first pick of the 3rd round. You say, you just swapping, it's not swapping Snead for Tyreek Hill. You bring Tyreek Hill back, so he will be back in a Chiefs uniform.
56.
Tyreek Hill, Rashid Rice, and Worthy, deadly on the field. So if you in
the Dolphins the Dolphins had a $56.5 million dead money cap hit.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of that's a lot of iron, as my grandfather used to say.
Especially if your quarterback's making 50 plus and may or may not be available all the time. And
I understand that y'all say he don't want him in a Chiefs uniform, but think about it. Tyreek Hill won multiple games for the Chiefs.
And he lost multiple games too.
The record is known, and we understand that. I understand that.
Won the Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill.
He's the reason, bro.
That's all true.
Buffalo Bills without Tyreek Hill. So y'all
true.
All this nonsense. Bring the guy back.
And that's great. We thank you for your service, but the party ends for everybody at a certain time. You don't have to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here, right?
That's
it's just not happening. Hence, everything just no. I mean, they have gone to more of homegrown. We're not going to pay big money to free agents. Now, you may get an extension with us, and I think Tyreek did he get one? Did he get us one extension here?
Yeah, he got 3-year, $56 million.
Okay.
Remember the Bengals game?
And then he wore his welcome out.
Yeah, lost.
I think somebody brought it up, especially, his last year. I think it was the year that Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown. He's like, why can't I do that?
Right.
I want the ball all the time. Now this year, Jamar Chase does it. He's the best. No. Tyreek says he's still the best. So I don't know. Man. It just doesn't seem like it's a good fit right now. Hense, sorry.
Sorry. Jersey was a good take too, sir. Yeah, sorry. He's not coming.
Who knows? It may happen. It just seems highly unlikely.
Now, guys, real talk. If he does come to Kansas City Chiefs, hypothetical, y'all love it, right? I get it because
I don't know. I don't know.
You want to love it, Nick? If he's a come, no. if they make a way for him to come back to the Chiefs,
for those that don't know me, there was no one who defended Tyreek Hill more with all that legal stuff because fortunately I had access to all the facts, and so I was one of the few voices that said, "Hey, this isn't what it appears to be." And when the league didn't suspend him, there's a reason for that. Now you can say what you want about Tyreek Hill. But I will give him props on two things. One, there's no player in the NFL that I've personally seen who trains and works harder than he does.
I mean, no doubt.
Off season, regular season, in game, practicing, he goes full speed. And two, he is very confident in who and what he is. And what he brought to the Chiefs offense was nothing short of spectacular. The problem isn't the fact that he's still not good enough to play in Kansas City. He is. The problem is the Chiefs have so many question marks at wide receiver that they may not just have the money to do it. And to put a stamp on this, without that trade to Miami, the Chiefs are not back-to-back Super Bowl champions because of what they pulled off in the draft and the contributions those players made to get them 2 Super Bowls in a row and on pace to get 3. So as much as I love Tyreek Hill, and I do as a player, and I don't care what he does off the field as long as it's not horrible. He can have as many kids as he wants. He can be it doesn't matter. I love it. I love the fact that the man is happy and confident. But, you can't – I just don't see how he fits in Kansas City in any way.
They've moved on.
Doesn't sacrifice.
I think the whole idea behind bringing in Xavier Worthy, trading up to go get that guy, was for him to kind of be that player, that type of player.
Eyes on this show. Who banned my wife comment out here? Somebody banned my wife. She was commenting in here and she threw up the peace sign.
What happened?
What's your name? Straw J?
Yeah, who did that?
Oh, was that your wife?
Yeah, who did that?
Well, I'm sorry. I will fix that because we were being trolled a little bit, and I was uncomfortable.
She said she threw up the peace signs for Tyreek Hill. That's what
okay. I'm sorry.
You know the names down. Straw J. You know how it is on here. We get some people.
I don't know how to fix it.
Straw J.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I thought that was a little.
No.
My apologies, darling. I'm so sorry.
Listen, I agree with Nick.
Gotta change that handle to Mrs. Bowtie.
Yeah, that would have been better. Then I would have known because, like I said, we had some interesting.
Who the hell is Straw J? I'm like,
so if we know you, but we still object to what you say, it's fine.
I don't know how to undo it.
What? I was like, what? She said, I comment. I said, I don't see it.
Oh, man, now she probably hates me. So I apologize. We broke bread together. We're good, right?
We get a bunch of knuckleheads on here all the time.
Yeah, we got to get it to George. George comment. What did he say here? What did he say?
All right. George says he does fit in Kansas City Chiefs. He wants to finish off his retirement for a year or two, and then he's done. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think that listen, it's not inconceivable if he gets cut and is willing to give the Chiefs a team-friendly deal, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But he's all about the money.
That would be off-brand.
Yeah, it would be totally off-brand.
And Drew would highly recommend against it.
Yeah.
Hold on, Hense. You don't cut the main man Lou off. Let Lou speak his mind, sir.
I didn't say that. I'm over here.
That was it.
I was just about to say.
The mind of Lou is golden, man. You don't stop his takes, man. All right. Go ahead, Bo.
I was about to say, do y'all want to go into the next comment?
Let's do it. Let's go.
Let's go.
We're 20 inches deep in snow.
Comment at your own peril.
I think you touched on it, so I don't know. So that's why I was going to ask you guys.
Throw it up there, Hensley.
Okay, I think you touched on it at the breaking news.
We've gone through a lot of this.
We did.
We know Matt will, and I think he's probably maybe the only one. I think Spags might get one, and I think a lot of teams have to go. You have to go through a process. Now he's not a minority candidate, but I think he's done enough to get interviews. I don't know that anybody's going to hire older coaches at this time unless they've won as a head coach in the league in the past. I think that's where Harbaugh had it over him, and then his success at Michigan, national champion, everything else. Granted, Spags has 6 rings from being or whatever, 4 rings for being a DC. No one else has that. But it just the climate of the league and who they're hiring seems to be younger. And if it is older, it would be like an offensive-minded coach, I'm thinking, just the way it's looked lately. I think he'd be great, but I just don't know that the climate is out there for him at this point.
Yeah,
I don't think Spags, even though I was on the beating the drum for him to get a second chance of coaching, a head coaching job, but slowly thinking about it when Lou was just speaking, why would you want to detach yourself from Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid at any point? So I would say, no.
I think they asked him the other day, and he said he definitely wants another opportunity.
If I'm Spags, if I'm the Raiders, Spags is the only person. That's who I interview. I think with Tom, if Tom Brady has an influence, there's no defensive coordinator he respects more than Spags in the game today.
Yeah, he did beat him in the Super Bowl.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's the only 4-time, winner of the Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator in NFL history, about to be 5. If they want to, again, when you're in a bad franchise, when you have a bad franchise that has all these fractions, you make stupid decisions. You hire a head coach who has no experience. Now Spags didn't have a great record. I think he won 9 games in 3 years with the Rams. But if you want to bring order to your franchise and you want to bring discipline and a plan, and you're willing to support that financially with a good offensive coordinator, a good defensive coordinator, and better decisions with talent,
hire Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, well, of course you do. But the Raiders probably won't spend that kind of money. And listen, Vrabel's
no word on Pierce yet, though, right?
Supposedly he's talking to the media today, but we all saw that you can talk to the media and still get fired an hour later.
Damn. That's cold. That's cold blooded.
We've seen that once already this year with Matt.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing about the Bears. Like these big name head coaches. Do you really want to get involved in that? I mean, that's the thing. That whole you mentioned Kevin Warren and just running that thing. I don't how big of a voice does Ryan Poles have?
If I'm the Bears,
when he was hired, he had no say on the head coaching hire. It was all with the McCloskey family.
If I'm the Bears, only head coach I'm hiring for head coaching, bringing in there is Keith Klingberg. I'm pulling him from Washington. I'm giving him a second chance, and
he ain't leaving Washington, bro. I don't think he's leaving Washington.
I'm just saying, if
he was available, you would. If he was available,
available, right? You have Patrick Mahomes. Think about the guys that's in the playoffs right now. All his guys that he coached are in the playoffs right now.
Yep.
Except for Kyler Murray.
What's his name? Baker Mayfield. Jalen Daniels. Them all his guys. There's all in the playoffs. Except the Kyler Murray. But other than that, if I'm the Chicago Bears, I'm going here. But the Chiefs coaching staff interviews vacancy. The only person I'm going for is the Spags. The Spags I want to leave.
Yep.
And ain't nobody else I want.
And John makes a good point. If Nagy's left, okay, fine. They can bring in Kafka, or they can find a replacement. But to lose Spags, and I would assume Dave Merritt would go as his defensive coordinator. Remember, he turned down the defensive coordinator job with the San Francisco 49ers. And again, Dave Merritt's another guy. He's the highest paid at his position. So that would be tough. Now, Joe Cullen probably would be promoted to defensive coordinator if that happened. But, I would think Dave Merritt would be a guy, too, that he should get a couple of interviews in this cycle. Not token ones. I mean, just he's smart. What he's done in the Chiefs secondary is
that's remarkable. That's the difficult thing with the Rooney Rule. You never know the motivation behind.
That's what I'm saying. It can't be a token interview
when they bring people in. But I guess the bottom line is, if you get the opportunity, if you go in and knock it out of the park, now maybe you turn some heads, or maybe they're like, whoa, wait a second, this guy blows us away. So hopefully he does get some, he gets some opportunities to talk to people.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. But again, these are all things that, for the first time in this Super Bowl era in Kansas City, teams are looking at, for the general manager and the head coaching possibilities. They're looking at some of these guys, and I think they're looking at them seriously, thinking, okay, well, maybe they can do here what they've done there. And it's all Andy Reid, to the point of how he builds the structure, the culture, how he deals with his coaches, how he goes about his business. But these were learned things. These are things he had to learn how to do.
But there's only one coordinator that has success after leaving under Andy Reid, and that's the guy that just got fired from.
Peterson.
Peterson, he got a Super Bowl ring with the Eagles, but
he did a terrific job. You know, he had a Carson Wentz as his starter, and he goes in and wins with Nick Foles because he got hurt, and they beat the Patriots.
I think if he come back to Kansas City, I think that would be a good move, though.
So you see a lot of thing about these organizations. You think like there's 32 and they're all the same, or they're all different. Right. You know, a lot of these, especially a lot of them are family-run businesses, and you don't know what the dynamic is. And Jacksonville, I mean, Peterson didn't forget how to coach. He didn't forget how to lead, but it's just a mess down there. Now, everybody seemed to think when they brought in Urban Meyer and he was so toxic. Now, again, Urban, I'm sure is not everybody's cup of tea, but I got to believe some of the things that he was trying to change, he was getting some pushback on from the organization. And it just, maybe he just kind of talked his way out of there. But the bottom line is you have to have some sort of alignment. And you're going, especially Jacksonville now, you have to work with Trent Baalke. Nothing against Trent Baalke, but just a sitting GM that hasn't been very successful. And now all of a sudden, they're saying that new coach will report directly to Shad Khan. I don't know if that helps.
Right? You know what? You know what I think Baalke is? I think he's their Carl Peterson. He's their guy. And I think what he is doing in the stadium renovations, the negotiations with playing in Europe, I think he does more of that kind of thing for Khan than he does to really try to build a winner.
I don't know, man. It just seems like it's a mess. They were at a point where they got to the AFC Championship game. They had this core of young players, right? Jalen Ramsey was like the best corner in the league, and he was like in his third years. I mean, and there was other players as well. Just names escape me.
Hey, Nick, what you think about the George comment real quick? He said, if you get the money, that you're going to leave.
They'll leave. I mean, for the right situation. And, and Spags, like I said, last week indicated, he was really gracious in how I would like that opportunity, but that'll work out for itself. But again, if the money's right, anybody will leave. And you've seen in the past, a lot of teams overpay for young, inexperienced coaches. If you're going to overpay, pay for a veteran who's coming from a team that's won Super Bowls, because
above 500,
there's only one winner every year. And the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes is going to be 50-50 every year.
And then also it's kind of a roll of the dice. I mean, these new head coaches have to come from somewhere, but just the fact that you've been successful coordinating your side of the ball doesn't automatically make you qualified to be a head coach and run the entire thing.
Right.
Now, again, they have to come from somewhere, and I'm sure there's plenty of guys that are capable, but a lot of them wash out because they're so focused on their side of the ball that there's a lot that goes into running the organization, being the head coach and overseeing the whole thing.
Yeah, it's about the resume, man. It's about the resume, man.
Speaking of Spags, only time I watch the media interviews is to listen to Spags. I like when he talks with. It's so good how he talks about the players in his Italian accent. The guy, I ain't talking about like that, Lou. No,
East Coast.
He's from the New England states. It's a little bit of Boston in there, but not. He's kind of lost most of it.
Yeah, but
he came off the boat. He came straight from Sicily.
Shut up, Lou. He fresh off the boat. He said he fresh off the boat with
speaking broken English. It's like my dad. May he rest in
Chris
peace.
Jones would miss his wife's cooking. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's the added bonus you get if you hire him. Come on.
Honestly, though, Nick. If I was to hire a coach, man, I want a coach that's above 500 that has championship experience. But I'm going to pay like top dollar. I would have.
Not a lot of those guys hanging around.
Yeah, I mean, look at Cliff Kingsbury is a perfect example going to Arizona from college. No NFL experience, making one of the highest paid coaches. He's still under contract through 2025. He doesn't have to take a head coaching gig because that lets the Cardinals
double down on money. He can double down.
It offsets.
But it's not about the experience too, man. It's
and also kind of seeing this thing through, not like for his entire career, but for the first few years of Jaden Daniels' career.
Yeah,
probably not a bad place to be.
No,
just stay put.
No, and he's done a terrific job with this young kid, and he is the next guy potentially.
George, is you new in here? I don't know. I think
we love you, George, man. You got some great comments here.
At least we have great honor in the Hunt family. Andy Reid and the GM run this organization to be the best, and we can do and to make Super Bowls once again, third time coming in. I mean, that's the whole point, guys, and that's what all these other owners, all these other owners are trying to do something that is honestly almost impossible. And we are so lucky in Kansas City for what we have in Patrick Mahomes. And who cares about MVP? Who cares? He gets it. He took 50 years of disappointment on his shoulders, and he wins a playoff game for the first time in 8 tries or 9 tries. And he carries the Chiefs to new heights, 3 Super Bowls, 4 appearances. He's done remarkable work. And if I'm the Bills, I gotta go an extra level. If I'm the Bengals, the Ravens, I gotta go an extra level. If I'm the 49ers or the Lions, you gotta go an extra level because that's what Patrick Mahomes demands.
Right.
And
so all
this
these
is why.
teams
Let me finish one more thing. One more comment. And this is why I think the Chiefs need to fear next season, the year after, the Denver Broncos and the Chargers, is because they are doing the one thing that no other teams are doing in the NFL when it comes to beating the Chiefs. They are building a team that's difficult for the Chiefs to beat. That's the key. That's the secret sauce. If other teams around the league would adapt the same thing, instead, they're trying to build a team that can beat Patrick Mahomes. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
The Bengals had a secret sauce.
They didn't. They didn't because they could never sustain it. They could never sustain it.
We had to have the bottom.
Well, any of these teams that have a good culture and they've paid the quarterback and maybe a couple other players.
Yeah,
you have to draft really, really well, and you have to hit on picks. Like every single year. So that I think maybe that has something to do with too. Now, obviously, the fact that Patrick just plays at a level just above the elite quarterbacks in the league, and then throw that into having successful drafts the last 3 or 4 years, that makes it look that much better. I think, teams like Buffalo has an opportunity to do that. I think what the Rams have done with their drafts, now Stafford's a little bit older, so they're going to have to probably make some move at quarterback. So that's the other part of it. It all has to align in time-wise. So most of these guys are young. Patrick's still young enough that the younger players, they're all close in age, so they will be successful for the next few years. So that's, it doesn't happen very often. Obviously, we said New England did it. And how long did it take for this to
and they had a 10-year gap between Super Bowls too, because they had to figure out, okay, the NFL is different now. When we won our 3 Super Bowls early on in his career, and they went 10 years without it, they're like, okay, we got to change. We got to do things differently. And they did, to their credit, and they ran that machine as far as they could possibly run it. And now they're back in a rebuild. They'll never be.
They went from a defensive team to an offensive team, where the Chiefs have kind of gone the other way around.
Right. And now the Chiefs have balance for the first time.
Nick, you just said balance. Chiefs got balance. They got salt and pepper.
I feel like they have more balance when the drafts come around. They draft a kid from Boise State when he slowed all the way down to 32. And also they have more balance when they trade off that 3rd round pick to bring back this man here. So I say that as well. So with that said,
Boise State, you gonna bring a running back in, bro?
I don't know, man. He's gonna have to prove a lot.
What? I'll bring him in ASAP. So with that said, man, let's get into our sponsors before we close out.
We had a great show today. We appreciate everybody. 863 people. We appreciate you very much. First up, Eric Haynes with the Eric Haynes Real Estate Group. If you're looking for someone who can help you buy or sell a house in the greater Kansas City area, there's nobody I trust more than my good friend, Mr. Eric Haynes. You can give him a call at 816-729-3785. You can email him at esalescasey@gmail.com.
Proud sponsor of Chief Who?
That's correct. And next proud sponsor is my incredible wife, Emily Athan. Listen, open enrollment has ended, but you still probably need to find a good, flexible health coverage option for you and or your family. There's nobody who understands the business better than she does. Whether it's a private option or a marketplace option, she has all the solutions. Get a custom quote today by simply calling her at 913-215-9086.
Emily.
Emily.
That's it. All right, and our newest sponsor, Resell Electronics.
Save big on the hottest electronics. At Resell Electronics, we offer the best deals on new and pre-owned TVs, game consoles, cameras, plus so much more. With 2 convenient locations along Noland Road in Independence, stop by and visit us today.
That's right, Resell Electronics. 2 great locations in Independence, 1214A South Noland Road, and then down on Noland Road and 40 Highway. Inside the flea market, they've got all your consumer electronic needs, whether you want to buy something that's been refurbished or you want to sell some of your old stuff, they will give you cash. So at the end of the day, if you're looking for the best experience when it comes to finding a great value for your electronic needs, there's nobody better than Resell Electronics. Check out their website at resellwithac electronics.com.
Resell
Electronics, sir.
That's right. That's right. All right, I'm going to give George McConnell the last word. To answer your question, all teams have been trying this for a long time to try to get a first-round quarterback. Not everybody can get a Patrick Mahomes. Bingo. George, you got it, man. Welcome to the show. Again, apologies to Hense's wife for what I did. I thought we were being trolled, and I apologize.
Way to go, George. I think we're still waiting for the best of Patrick to come out. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
has he played a 4-quarter game yet?
If he keeps working hard, maybe he'll get pretty good at this.
Yeah.
Also, George, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend, share away.
Yeah, please, people, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. If you want to throw a few bucks our way, that's great to kind of keep the lights on around here. But
back again,
please subscribe. We've got a lot of followers, and looking at the type of followers we have, we got a lot of people who just watch the show. All we're asking you to just hit a little button. It's right there on your screen on the bottom right. You'd be able to press the button and go boom, and you're automatically subscribed.
Yes.
We would appreciate that a great deal as we get you ready for the wild card weekend. We'll be back on Wednesday. We'll have a great show. We'll kind of maybe do a little recap of the Chiefs 2024 season, and who knows what else is going to break in the next 48 hours, but you're going to find it here at the 4 Guys in a Bar podcast presented by ChiefsBlitz.com, your number one source for Chiefs news, information, and analysis. So with that said, I'm Nick Athan, your host, Mr. Hense Todd, Mr. Lou Montagna, and Mr. Andre Tillman. I bid you a Monday farewell, and we'll see you guys all on Wednesday.
Peace.